There's no room for mistakes today. The Ravens take on the Chiefs in a game that could change the course of the season. On one side, Patrick Mahomes with all his magic. On the other, Lamar Jackson trying to prove that Baltimore is still strong enough to compete with anyone. But what will really decide this matchup isn't just the star power. It's the little things, the small moments that might look ordinary but can make all the difference. If the Ravens hit these key points, they could finally break the Arrowhead curse. And that's exactly what we're about to break down. Because each item on this list could be the difference between walking out with a win or heading home with another painful loss. If there's one thing the Ravens absolutely cannot do, it's let Patrick Mahomes escape the pocket. It sounds simple, but it's anything but. Every time defenders rush too fast or lose their angles, he finds just enough space to break free. And it's not just the run itself that's dangerous. It's how he turns it into easy first downs, keeping his offense alive and wearing down the defense. That's the kind of detail that can completely change the game. It might seem like Mahomes isn't a natural runner like Josh Allen, but the truth is, he's been even more dangerous on the ground this season. He's already the Chiefs' leading rusher, has scored touchdowns, and more importantly, knows exactly when to use this weapon. He doesn't run just to run. He runs when it hurts the opponent the most. That's what makes him so hard to stop. So the Ravens' mission is clear. Total discipline in the pass rush. Don't overcommit, and open a massive lane in the middle. The edge rushers need to contain the outside, forcing Mahomes to stay in the pocket, while the interior defenders have to shed blocks and stop any attempt to advance. And if none of that works, there's always the spy, a defender assigned to shadow every move he makes. It's exhausting, but it's the kind of effort that can decide the game. If Baltimore controls Mahomes like this, he'll be forced to play more predictably, throwing under pressure with defenders closing in, and his ability to improvise will be limited. That's when the Ravens can finally swing the momentum in their favor. But keeping Mahomes contained is only part of the puzzle. On the other side, there's a monster named Chris Jones, ready to wreak havoc on Baltimore's offense if he's not properly accounted for. Chris Jones is the kind of player who doesn't need to be on the stat sheet every play to completely change a game. Even when his numbers don't jump out like so far this season, he's still a nightmare for any offensive line. One play, a sack on third down, a tackle for loss, and suddenly the game flips. The Ravens know this well because they've felt his impact before. In last year's matchup, Jones practically lived on Baltimore's right side of the line. He exploited weaknesses, won one-on-one battles, and kept Lamar Jackson constantly uncomfortable. The problem? The same players who struggle with him then are still starting now, which is a huge red flag. If adjustments aren't made, history could easily repeat itself. The big question is where he'll attack. If Ronnie Stanley is out and Joseph Noteboom has to step in at left tackle, Jones could target Lamar's blind side, and that's even more dangerous. Kansas City loves exploiting gaps like this, and Steve Spagnuolo knows exactly how to set up his best player against the weakest point on the line. Stopping Jones has to be an absolute priority. Double-team schemes, quick passes, running plays that make him move laterally. Everything has to be considered to reduce his impact. If the Ravens can limit this destroyer, Lamar will have more time, the offense will flow better, and team confidence will rise. But beyond containing the Chiefs' defensive monster, Baltimore also needs to prove it can play complete football, with all three phases contributing at a high level. The Ravens have always been known as a balanced team, but lately, that identity has slipped. The offense is still explosive, led by Lamar, but the defense and special teams need to step up and perform at the same level. You can't rely on just one unit, especially against a team like the Chiefs. This kind of game demands contributions from every phase, every detail. In their last matchup, special teams did their part, with a long return and solid field position. But the defense allowed massive drives of over 95 yards, and that simply can't happen. Giving Mahomes room to march down the field unbothered is basically handing him control of the clock and the scoreboard. The lack of pressure and turnovers killed any chance to dominate. The key is for every unit to find its moment. It could be an interception that swings momentum, a third down sack that forces a punt, or a big punt return that puts the offense in prime field position. Those small wins add up, creating the edge needed to compete on equal footing against such a well-coached opponent. If Baltimore regains that complementary mindset, their chances of walking out of Arrowhead with a win go way up. But to do that, execution across all phases is just part of it. They also have to avoid self-sabotage. Because against Mahomes and company, even one mistake can come back to haunt them immediately.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video, but before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
This might be the most delicate point of all. A great game plan doesn't matter if the Ravens give it away through careless mistakes. The Chiefs excel at turning every slip-up into points. A fumble here, a penalty there, a poorly placed kick giving short field position. In minutes, the game can change hands. This is exactly what Kansas City does best, exploiting opponent errors. Baltimore already has enough problems with injuries. Add preventable mistakes, and the task becomes nearly impossible. Discipline from start to finish is critical. Protect the ball, don't get baited into penalties, and make every third down opportunity count. Simple in theory, but in the hostile environment of Arrowhead, pressure multiplies the risk of mistakes. Even small special teams errors matter. A short kickoff, for example, can give Mahomes the ball at midfield. Suddenly, the defense is under pressure, knowing he's already in scoring range. Those moments of carelessness are exactly the kind of openings the Chiefs exploit for easy points. Keeping calm, playing clean, and minimizing mistakes is the key to making the rest of the game plan work. And that brings us to final point, leveraging the talent that still exists on the roster, even with injuries, to turn discipline into real on-field advantage. Even with injuries taking their toll, the Ravens still have one of the strongest rosters in the AFC. Experienced players, game changers, and a coaching staff that knows how much these matchups matter. But talent alone doesn't win games. The team has to combine execution, discipline, and consistency across all units. That's where the difference is made, in blending individual skill with collective focus. Missing key pieces like Nnamdi Matabike is a tough blow, but it's no excuse. The Ravens have depth, young players ready to step up, and leaders capable of holding the team together under pressure. Every player needs to understand there's no room to relax. Against the Chiefs, even a small dip in intensity can be costly. When Baltimore plays to its standard, paying attention to details and trusting its weapons, the team shows why it's always a title contender. Lamar Jackson, in particular, needs to anchor that balance, leading the offense without forcing plays, but also without hiding. The defense, even with some missing pieces, can still find creative ways to pressure and force mistakes. If the Ravens can combine the talent they have with the focus required to face an opponent like this, a win at Arrowhead goes from a distant dream to a real possibility. And more than that, it could mark the moment the team regains the confidence of a squad that knows it belongs at the top of the NFL. At the end of the day, it all comes down to discipline and execution. Keep Mahomes contained in the pocket. Don't let Chris Jones dominate the line. Play full, complementary football in all three phases. Avoid careless mistakes, and turn the talent still on the roster into real advantage. If the Ravens hit all of these points, beating the Chiefs isn't just possible. It could change the course of their season. The big question now is, do you think Baltimore is ready to do this today, even on the road at Arrowhead? Because this is the kind of game that tests not only a team's talent, but also its maturity, mental toughness, and ability to perform when everything is on the line. And if the Ravens truly want to cement themselves among the league's elite, today is the moment to prove it.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself.